so thankful to be here with this opportunity to present to you. Thank you so much, David and Joey. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today. So tell me, first time for anybody in the Caymans?
Yeah.
Who went to the beach?
Yes.
I didn't go yet. Oh my gosh, I've heard it's absolutely magnificent.
Yep.
It is magnificent. And you know, we've had a beautiful experience here for the last couple of days. We had some wonderful, wonderful speakers that really gave us some motivation and some nuggets. And if you've noticed, there's a correlation. Every speaker, we have the same message. We might say it differently, but we do have the same message. Success, moving forward, stepping out of your comfort zone, right? Getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's what it's all about. And you heard when David started, right? He wanted to see your success, because your success is his success, and Joey's success, and everybody in the room next to you, and those of you back home, families that you have. Success is important. But how do you start to be successful? Well, you need to start with some leadership. And you've heard that word, David mentioned it, Joey mentioned it, you need to lead, right? So how do you become a leader? Do you just wake up in the morning and say, I'm gonna lead? Do you? It takes some skill sets to do that. It's not something you're born with. So I started thinking, when I was putting together my talk for you, I wanted it to be something that would give you some valuable information. And I thought about leadership, and I realized that there are 3 things that are very necessary in order to be a great leader. 3 skill sets, and they're simple. A great leader needs to inspire. A great leader needs to aspire. And a great leader needs to have that communication skill, listening. Now, what's important about those 3 skills? When you inspire someone, you get them to take action. And when you aspire someone, they want to be like you, because you've inspired them. And I don't mean a clone, but they want to be like you. And then, when you listen, any great leader that walks in a room, that leads a meeting, and check this out the next time when you walk in a meeting and someone else is leading, a great leader will listen to everybody first before they speak about what their game plan is. Any great leader. So you need those 3 things to start off with leadership. And those are skill sets. And like I said, we just don't wake up overnight and say, okay, I'm going to be a great leader. But there's one more thing that you need. Charisma. Now take a moment and think about that word, charisma. What comes to your mind? Anybody in person? Yes. Oh, well, we don't want that to happen, do we? Thank you. All right, so let's get back to charisma. Anybody want to take a stab at it? Who do you think of when you think of somebody that's charismatic?
Barack Obama.
Right, Barack Obama. And let me tell you why. There's only two things you need to develop in order to have charisma. You see it with David, you see it with many of the people that were on stage, and yourselves. Is you need to have warmth and confidence. Those are the 2 things. And if you want to read up on them, there's a great book called Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. And she talks about this. Warmth and confidence. And what that means is you don't have to be the tallest one in the room, the one that's dominating the conversation. You need to have warmth because people need to trust you. That's the first thing. The second thing is confidence. They need to know you have their back. So when you take all of these skills that I shared with you, that's what makes up a good leader. You want to know you're a leader, how's your back? That's important. So now, how does this all tie into the power of loving your way to the top? So the power of loving your way to the top are 3 skill sets that I have put together on how you can go through life being more successful, at peace, and a lot happier. And those are 3 things when you lead with love. Because the power of loving your way to the top starts with the power is you. And loving means to extend empathy, caring, and understanding to others. And to the top means achieving the level of recognition, self-worth, and success that you desire. So loving your way to the top means the power you have to extend empathy, caring, and understanding to others in a way that fits you so you can achieve the level of recognition, self-worth, and success that you desire. Now, there's a lot of ways to the top, but let me tell you, when you take this path, you're going to be a hell of a lot happier. Now, you might be thinking, like, why love? I want to share with you a story about why love is important in your everyday life and if you want to be successful. Dr. John Bowlby, who worked in a British orphanage after World War II, noticed that young children under the age of 2 quite often would die. Now, these children had food, warmth, shelter, adult supervision, and they were still dying. And Dr. Bowlby came up with an explanation. He believed these children were dying because of the lack of love from a parent. Their little hearts were so broken with desire that they could no longer sustain life without a loving connection. So just like food, warmth, shelter, you need love. Love is not optional, love is a necessity. And if love is a necessity to life itself, it only stands to reason that love is a necessity when it comes to your success. And guess what? Businesses are made up of people, right? Businesses need to extend empathy, caring, and understanding to their clients and to each other. So how do you start the process? You start by falling in love. And there are 3 things that I'm going to share with you, 3 steps that you can implement immediately when you leave today, because my goal for you today is I want you to get to the top. Whatever that might mean for you today. Maybe you want to buy a house. Maybe you want to open up your own event company. Maybe you want to have a baby or several babies. Maybe you want to find the love of your life. Or maybe you want to get rid of the love of your life. One or the other. And even when you get to the top, remember, your finish line is always your next starting line. And you heard that, you heard Joey talk about that, you heard that throughout this. Remember, you're never finished. You're never finished. And this is why loving your way to the top is very important. So the 3 steps that I'm going to share with you are falling in love with you, falling in love with your team and clients, and falling in love with the experience that you deliver. And we're going to cover that, and I'm just going to flip through my book. Okay, and we'll move on. These are the 3 principles. We got them, and don't worry, if you want to take notes, you most certainly can. I'll be more than happy to share my slides with you if you give me your email address later on. But you know, like I said, you're in the right place if you are ready, right? You want to have fun, you want to enjoy life, and what else? You want to make money. I don't know anybody that doesn't. You heard Nadia talk about that too. Who doesn't like money? Who doesn't like having nice things? But it takes work. So like I said, make sure your phones are off, and you have notebooks if you want to write that down. And let's have some fun. So I want to share with you a couple of acronyms. Some of them you might know, and some of them you're going to learn today as we go about this process as well. But I'm going to talk a tiny little bit about myself so you get to know who I am. So I am an ordained minister in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've had the opportunity now to perform close to 5,000 wedding ceremonies and climbing. That's amazing. And I only work with venues that allow me to perform my ceremonies longer than 5 minutes, because we all think of that with Las Vegas for a drive-thru. But also I like to speak about love, and not just love in the workplace, I also speak about finding love again. I'm a widow, and I know that it's not easy to do that. And also I created a course on how to officiate weddings for those people that really want to learn the craft, because it's a craft. And you just don't want to get up there and perform someone's ceremony, because you know what? There are no do-overs when it comes to a wedding ceremony. And the same thing you all know with events. You have to have it right, you have to be ready to go. And I did write a book during the pandemic, going from just one to a plus one, on how to find love again after loss. So I definitely kept myself a little busy during the pandemic. And for those of you that I don't know if you noticed, you have a bracelet in front of you, right? That were blessed with love to wear with love. And my husband Frank, my late husband Frank, when he knew that I wanted to transition into this, because I came from the credit card industry, so I know what hospitality is all about. And that's how I met my husband. We opened up a car rental company, and we were one of the first, actually I was one of the first women-owned companies to be awarded a contract in a major airport in the US. I was so proud of that. And thank you. And that company, I started with hospitality. Now I want you to do a little math if you're good at math. We did about $18 million a year in revenue, about 125 employees. And our average sale was about $135. So we had many, many customers coming through the door. And it was very important that these customers felt welcome. So it started from an early time in my history of being a professional and being in the industry. But after we sold the car rental company, I needed to do something. And I also wanted to prepare myself because I knew my husband was going to pass away. Because in 1997, my husband had a heart transplant, an actual heart transplant, and he lived 15 years. But I knew I was always on borrowed time. So I wanted to get involved and do something that kept me busy. And on weekends, because that was the industry I was in. We were open Christmas. So I went to a wedding ceremony, I saw a woman perform it, and hence I became an ordained minister. It wasn't that easy. I pounded the pavement. It took me a few years to get to where I am today, but I love what I do. Just like you love what you do. It's important. And, besides, I enjoy what I do. I have a beautiful daughter. I have 2 bonus stepchildren. I've got 15 grandchildren.
Okay.
Yes, 15 grandchildren. And I have a beautiful blended family. And I get to do weddings in helicopters, on the high roller. And in Las Vegas, they bring their animals here. So it's kind of neat. I've been blessed, just like each and every one of you, you're blessed. So I want to just go through the acronyms and the framework that we're going to be going through over the next 30 minutes. Are you familiar with BYOE, right? Do you know what that means? Bring your own energy, right? I unfortunately was a late bloomer. I found out about that when I started using the Peloton app. So I thought this was all new. But there's a couple of other acronyms that I'm going to share with you as well, which is CEO. And it's not what you think. It's not Chief Executive Officer. And there's another one that you're going to learn today as well. It's called COF. And you're thinking, what does COF mean? We'll get through that. But if there's anything you remember today out of this whole presentation, like I said, I want you to get to the top. That's my goal. But how you do anything is how you do everything. And you heard David say that as well. I thought, did he look at my slides? But this is my motto. How you do anything is how you do everything in life. And that's important. And when that slide appears again, you're going to read it with me each time. Okay. So first of all, we're going to start with the first principle, falling in love with you. Now, you've heard talk about that throughout this conference. And right now, you're feeling a lot of love in the room, right? Brothers and sisters here, you're feeling the love. But when you go home, you're going to feel the same way. And loving yourself is not an easy task. We are our biggest self-sabotagers. We compare ourselves. How many times do you pick up your cell phone and look at Instagram, right? Comparison is a thief of joy. Remember that. Comparison is a thief of joy. And to start loving yourself, you really have to pull back the layers and love who you are. And you love who you are by accepting who you are as your authentic self. So for example, I know I'm never going to be tall and slim like Charlie or kick my legs up that way, but I have other, great strengths about me as well. The same way you do, and you do, everybody in this room. And when you start with loving yourself, you have to remember, yes, you need cheerleaders, but you need to be your biggest cheerleader. You. It starts with you. Yes. Because you know what? We love to have validation from others, but it's important that we validate ourselves. When you heard Nadia talk about zeal, right? Sending yourself zeal, love. Write yourself a 5-star review. Write yourself a 5-star review and read it to yourself. But besides surrounding yourself with the right people, you have to surround yourself with the right mindset. It starts off with you being a big cheerleader and you being worthy, because you are worthy. You are worthy of everything that you set your sights for. Nothing should be stopping you. So, how do you start with loving yourself? Well, you start with the routine. I'll back up to that if I can. And every day, you need to feed your mind, body, and soul. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. If you've read that book, the 5 a.m. Club, it's a great book, but I don't get up at 5 a.m. I get up at 6. Everybody has their own time clock. But when you get up in the morning, you all have a routine. You get up, you might brush your teeth, you might go to the bathroom, you might take a shower, you might go to the gym, you might check email. It's automatic. So with a show of hands, how many of you in the room, when you get up, start with either prayer or meditation? Good for you. That's a great way to start your day. How many of you start with being just grateful? You heard Joey talk about being grateful as he woke up again today. And I'm going to end with that, but I want you to put that in the back of your mind. This morning, you woke up, not because you knew you were going to wake up, because you were given a gift. You were given a gift, whether you believe in God or not, because we don't know when our time is up. So the first thing is developing a routine, and by nourishing your mind, body, and soul. Now, you can either start the night before and get yourself set up. So what I recommend is if you really need to do that workout and move your body, set your clothes out the night before. And if before you go to bed, it's hard for you to go to sleep, shut off Law and Order. Great show, but you know what? It doesn't serve you any purpose, does it? Forensic Files, oh my gosh. You want to set yourself up for a great day. It's true. Set yourself up the right way. Because when you set yourself up in the morning, you're setting yourself up for success. So by feeding your mind, body, and soul, and I don't mean what you eat, I'm talking about feeding your body and your mind with good things so that you can be the best version of you, because there's nobody out there like you, unless you have an identical twin. Okay, that's the only time. But there isn't anybody out there, so you need to take care of yourself because you're taking care of other people. So setting up a great routine, maybe it's exercise for you, maybe it's praying, maybe it's meditating. I like to go in my backyard with my dogs and listen to the hummingbirds when it's not hot in Las Vegas. But think about your routine and what you can do to just flip the switch a little bit. Maybe add 3 minutes of praying, maybe add 3 minutes of meditating. It makes all the difference in the world. And as you move throughout your day, you'll be able to handle a hell of a lot more. That's what's important. Is you need to take care of you, because nobody else is going to take care of you. Now, you've heard that analogy where when you get on an airplane, right? And if you have to use the oxygen mask, you need to first put it on yourself and then the baby. Well, let's dig a little deeper. That flight attendant has the oxygen mask on when they're speaking to you. You need to be that flight attendant, remember that. So think about your routine, think about what you're putting in your body every day. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and drink, it doesn't mean you can't eat and indulge. But you know when you have to prepare for something special, you need to bring your A game, because you owe it to yourself and you owe it to those around you. So I recommend, it's up to you, find somebody in the room today before you leave, that if there's something that you need to do, whether it's exercise, praying, whatever it is, maybe shutting off Law and Order at 12 o'clock at night, because, oh, that's one thing. You have to find your non-negotiables when it comes to your body. So for me, it's sleep. I've got to get at least 6 hours sleep, 7 hours sleep. That is a non-negotiable for me. So you need to find out what works for you. Plus, I need to exercise in the morning, because I have a feeling I have an accountability buddy back there, Beth, who's going to tell me. But you need to make a commitment, because you need to make that commitment to you. I know that once I say it out loud, I don't have to say it to anybody. It's like gospel, right? It's like, I better go do this. Somebody's watching me. And, take a book at night and read through what are your strengths. Write down your strengths. We all have strengths. All of us do. And we also need to think about what we can do to improve our skills. There's always something we can do better. And that's part of nourishing your mind, body, and soul. You should be learning something new every single day. Every single day, no matter what age you are, you should be learning something new. It makes all the difference. Now, I want to share something with you. This is statistics. 85% of people that attend events, when they leave, never implement anything they've learned. Yeah, that's a fact. 85% for those people that are fact finders out there. And think about that. Why? Because you really need to make a commitment for yourself, and that's most important. But also, how many of you have taken the 5 languages of love quiz? Right? For yourself, right? Or for your partner? Well, I'm going to share with you, we're going to also extend it. But I'd like you to take a moment and scan this, because tonight I'm giving you homework. Okay? You're not getting off easy. When I see you tonight, you're going to tell me what your love language is. That's right. Well, you can always go to Dr. Gary Chapman, The 5 Languages of Love. It's free. Download it. Take it later. We don't have the time. And this is really important, because when you know how you want to receive love, and you know how the people in your life want to receive love, you're going to make life a hell of a lot easier. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But download it, because you need to know how you like to receive love, right? At one time, I liked gifts. Who likes gifts? Right? I know Nadia probably likes it. Well, you know what I like now? I like quality time. I want to spend quality time with the people I love. That's important. Did you get that? I didn't mean to cause a little bit of chaos. All right, great. And this will really give you a great understanding. So here we're coming up to this, ladies and gentlemen, and
How you do anything is how you do everything.
all right, let's try this again.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And that's what's important, whatever you do. You heard about patience. I think Justina back there talked about that too. You need to have patience. I am the queen of impatience, so I understand it. It takes it's definitely a discipline. But there's something else. You can do anything, but you know what? You can't do everything. And you need to understand that. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And that's important to keep that in the back of your mind. So let's move on to principle number 2. 2A, I call it. To fall in love with your family, because you might be in transition, you might not be working, and also your work family. Because your work family is important, right? You need a team. I mean, even if you're a sole entrepreneur like me, I have VAs that I rely on, different people that help me with what I need to do in my business. And it's important that you set your team, your family up properly. And what I mean by that is, so for example, anybody have young children at home, under the age of 5, right? Right? So do you just tell them, oh, you're going to pre-K tomorrow, make your own lunch? No, right? Yeah, you don't. Or you have a new hire and you're onboarding them, and you tell them, okay, you'll kind of figure it out. Doesn't work that way. You need to make sure you're properly packing their parachute, but always bringing your own energy. And I'm going to share with you why packing the parachute is important. But you need to bring your energy wherever you're going, into your workplace, into your filming life. When you bring your energy, you're able to bring your A game, and you're able to set them up for their day, their week, whatever it is. So we'll just move on to that real quickly. So you see this beautiful picture here? Has anybody gone skydiving? No, it's not on my list. Okay, so if you're familiar with the parachute, right? A parachute has 18 folds in them, and it's done by hand. There isn't any artificial intelligence. It's done by hand, 18 folds, so that when you jump out of the airplane, when you pull that latch, when it opens up, it's buoyant. The 18 folds, between 16 and 18, has enough air under it so you can land safely. How are you packing the parachute for those you love and your team? I want to share a story with you. True story. If you like war stories, you'll bear with me. There was a gentleman by the name of Captain Charlie Plum. He's still alive. And he was in the Vietnam War, and he was on his 75th mission. He was a fighter pilot, and he flew off on his 75th mission with the SS Kitty Hawk. And he was shot down by the North Vietnamese, parachuted down, and he was captured, and he was held in captivity for 6 long years. He was released, and he goes about the country talking about how you need to set your team up, how to pack your team's parachute. So one day, he was in Kansas City, Kansas with his wife, and a gentleman walks over to him and says, "Are you Captain Charlie Plum?" He said, "Yes." He said, "You flew off the SS Kitty Hawk on such and such a date. It was your 75th mission?" He goes, "Yes." He looked at him, saluted. He said, "I packed your parachute, sir. I packed your parachute." And Captain Charlie Plum looked at him, looked down, looked up, and he said, "Thank you, sir." And he said, "How many folds did it have?" He said, "I remember, 18. So take this story, think about this story, when you're setting yourself up, your team, your family, whatever it is you're into, for everyday success. You need to pack their parachute. Okay, and also something else is you need to encourage participation by listening, which is one of the skills that I said you needed in order to be a great leader, because you're all leaders. Every one of you in this room are leaders, whether you recognize it or not. You don't have to be leading a large company. You are all leaders. But packing your parachute is very important. And give everybody the opportunity to share their thoughts as well whenever you're walking into a meeting. Now, we're familiar with companies having suggestion boxes, right? Aren't they like passe? Yeah, so, okay, so a couple of kind of fun things I came up with. How about a chalkboard wall in your house for your kids, writing things down they need to do? Maybe in your office, paint a door where people can write down their ideas. Or, I love Post-it walls. Post-it walls are great. How many use Post-its and post all around? Yep, right. And that's how you can encourage. And another way to also encourage to have your team share ideas, even your families, take a walk. There's something about walking side by side with somebody that opens up a different type of energy. People feel more comfortable. So if you want to learn about more of the science of people, what makes them look more comfortable, go to that site, The Science of People by Vanessa Van Edwards, and I'll give it to you later on. So that's how you fall in love with your team. So how do you fall in love with your clients? Oh, on your team, this is important, sorry about that. Now give your team and your children and your husband this quiz again. And let me tell you why that's important. Because you have people that have different personalities, right? So the 5 languages of love, people want to hear, right? People might want money. They might want quality time off. They might want gifts. What's the other one? Oh, and they might want touch, like a high five, especially in the workplace. So, for example, if you give, when you're having a team meeting and you give everyone this particular quiz, you'll find out over here, you know, that Mary might not want money. She might not want the extra dollars. She might want time off with her family. But, you know, Vanessa over here, she wants you to pat her on the back and tell everybody that you appreciate her. So this quiz is something I recommend you keep this as like your little Bible. It's very important. So when you go home, give your family the quiz and give this team, and the people, even if they're your outside, well, maybe not your outside vendors, but people like VAs, I definitely would recommend. And once you start to recognize this is going to help you with a better understanding of appreciation. Because another known statistic, is most people will leave a position, you know, we have this great resignation going on, because they don't feel appreciated. 85% too, another statistic, 85%. Now, you have to pay them fairly, you know, it's not just always wages, but people want to be appreciated. And that's why those listening skills are very important. Because when you have a great team, you know what happens? What do you have? You have more collaboration, which, who doesn't like that? Who doesn't like more harmony? Who wants to put fires out? Who has spat with who? I don't care what industry you're in, but you must have that happen, and you have more harmony. And what's the end result? You have a great team that's unstoppable. So now you move on to falling in love with your clients, because your clients and your team are very important. So how do you fall in love with your clients? First of all, you fall in love with them by listening to them. Now, have you ever been on a bad date? Has anybody ever been on a bad date?
Yes.
Oh, come on. You can't tell me nobody in this room. I have been on many. And when you go on a bad date, let me tell you what happens, okay? You walk in, you sit down, you smile, you anticipate it, and all of a sudden that person talks about themselves nonstop. Hell yeah, right? It's true. They don't even stop. You're listening to them, but you can't even get a word in edgewise. You think you want to go on a second date? So take a moment and think about your team, your sales team, yourself. How are you approaching people? You're walking in and opening up your laptop, and you're just pointing to things and not listening to your client or your potential client. Because you know what? Clients don't buy from you when they understand you. I want you to remember something. Clients buy from you when they feel you understand them. That's important. They don't buy from you when they understand you. They buy from you when you understand them. It's all based upon emotion. And again, it's also based upon listening. So has anybody ever heard of William Guidara? Anyone? He is a big foodie. He's on several Michelin restaurants. And there's a restaurant that is in New York City. I don't know if it's still around now. I think it is. It's called 11 Madison Park. Right? Okay, so when you walk into 11 Madison Park, you see a sea of suits, right? And there's about 30 chefs that are behind in the kitchen, not sous chefs, chefs. So one day, William Guidara was on the floor, he was assisting. It was his restaurant. He overheard some people from Cleveland, Ohio. They were on a foodie trip, and they were talking about that they went to these great restaurants. They had to book in advance, just like his. They went to Momofuku's, they went to Per Se, yada, yada. And then one guy turned around and said, you know what, wait, he goes, what we didn't do? And the other guy said, what? He said, we didn't have a New York hot dog. A New York hot dog. A dirt dog. That's what they're called.
Dirty dog.
That's right, dirty dog. He overheard that. So he went in the kitchen, took off his apron, ran down the block, purchased a hot dog, spent a couple of minutes trying to persuade his chef to cut it in fours and put some accompaniments in front of it. He placed it on the silver platter with the dome, and when he brought out their duck la blanc that took like 2 weeks for, the sauce to just permeate, right, and marinate, and then he opened up the dome with the hot dog. Can you imagine you don't know what happened. These people were going crazy. You could have given them vintage champagne and caviar and they could give a damn because he listened. He listened, and that's all it takes to fall in love with your clients is great listening skills. Okay, so I looked at their body language. Make sure they're eager if they're in front of you, and even if they're on Zoom. Are they zoning out? You really want to connect with your clients. And if you're on the phone, are you excited? Are you animated? Are you sharing with them what's possible? Using descriptive words when somebody wants to book a venue, you're saying, oh yeah, it's nice during the fall. Oh, when you come up in the fall, it is absolutely lush and gorgeous. You see all the different colors, so use more adjectives. And that's very important as well. So fall in love with your clients. So we're going to move on. So what does CEO mean? So this is what CEO means. Everybody in this room is a CEO. You are a Chief Experience Officer. Remember that. A Customer Experience Officer, excuse me. Every one of you is a Customer Experience Officer. You're in charge of whatever experience has been put before you, whether you're serving somebody in your house or outside of your home. Everything you do is what? How you do anything is how you do everything. You come to my home, and I'm sure many of you like this, you're going to walk through the door, I'm going to ask you, would you like something to drink? I have a big apothecary of M&Ms on the counter, 5 pounds. Yep, okay, that's what you need to make people feel welcome, because all people want to feel is that they're welcome and they belong, they're seen. So, falling in love with the experience because you have an obligation to provide every one of your clients with a pleasurable, memorable, predictable experience. Just like McDonald's, right? When you go to McDonald's, you're going to get those fries. It might bother you later, but you know how they're going to taste. And every time you have that responsibility. And it's important that when you're going through this and setting up your experiences, making sure it's a happy experience. Because when you have a happy experience, you have what? You have repeat business. You have referral business. Yes. Even in my industry, people call me back. They house blessings, celebrations of life, anniversaries, and in your business too. There's just so many different ways. So the key ingredients is remembering, bringing your A game every single day. And how you show up. How are you showing up? How are you showing up to your meetings, with your clients, with your team? Because you need to be exemplary. You need to be exemplary. It starts from the top. How are you greeting? Greeting is so important. At the rent-a-car company, I used to have our customer services agent say, welcome to Advantage Rent-A-Car. How may I help you? Welcome. Welcome is a big, great word to use. So there's something else. I only have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to go through this. I want you all to get the most bang for your buck. You need to make sure you're knowledgeable and confident and always prepared. And you prepare with those by going back to how you're setting yourself up. What's your routine? Being knowledgeable, knowing that your staff and you have the proper tools, that the parachute's packed properly. But also, too, is take a moment and think about your last great experience. Maybe it was here, maybe it was back home, but it stayed with you. It made you feel good. But now, let's talk about poor experiences, because we know it happens. And this is where service recovery comes in. And I want you to think about when you had the not so great experience, or maybe when you didn't deliver that. So there's this word called equanimity. Does anybody know what that means? Yep, you know what? Right, remaining calm under stress, duress, or chaos. Remaining calm, and let me tell you something, in order for you to be a great leader, you need to remain calm. This is very, very important. We all know stuff happens, doesn't it, right? Shit happens, especially when you're in the business. Things go wrong, orders don't get met, people don't show up. So you have to remain calm. And that's the key thing is you. And if you don't remain calm, you're never going to be a good leader. Quick story, I had 2 young men that I was training in the rent-a-car company. They were both training to be managers. And I left them overnight from the midnight shift to 8 a.m. And we knew we were going to be short of cars. Well, when I came in the next morning, they knew exactly what to do. I came in and I said to George, I said, George, how did your day go? He goes, the evening was terrible, Maria. He said, people were just angry. He said, they walked out the door, they slammed the door, they were never going to use this again, they complained. And I looked at him, I said, oh my God. And I turned to Alex, I said, Alex, how was the evening for you? He said, piece of cake. I said, were you in the same room? And he said, yes. He said, you know, he said, I told customers what we could do for them. They were happy. And I said, wow, how come you handled it that way? He said, very simple. He said, I was in the Navy. And I was on a submarine, about 8 miles now, whatever it was, 10 miles. He said, and a fire broke out in the submarine. That's the time to feel stressed. Think about that. What are you going to do? You're going to drown if you open up, right? Shoot. So equanimity is something, if you take a picture of this QR code, I have put together some great tools and skills that you can use and practice in your everyday life. And you'll get that in your email. And also 30 days of motivational quotes to motivate you. So this is something I want you to all remember. You are all COFs. You are creators of organizing fun. You organize fun. I mean, think about when David was up here, he was sharing with us about tonight. He's excited because he knows it's going to be fun. And you know, we are in an industry, gosh, we get to take people's dreams. They entrust us with their dreams to make them come true. That is a gift. That is a gift to have. Now, I did have some more information to share with you, but a couple of quick things. If you'd like to connect with me, I'm going to put up my QR code. But there's one thing, is there ain't no magic pill. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts in doing what you do and doing it well. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And remember that. So, I want to leave you with something. We've all had this opportunity here to learn. You've heard from different educators, and every one of us, our message is pretty much the same, only said a little differently. So think about this. Wouldn't it be better for you to learn how to become a great leader and develop those skill sets? And also develop charisma, as well as getting to love yourself, being able also to love your team, to love your family, setting them up properly, because when they do well, you do well. And also as far as giving your clients the best experience. But remember, I said something in the beginning. I said, you know, Joey mentioned about he woke up this morning, it was a gift. You woke up this morning, it was a gift. You think God gave you that gift because he just wanted you to wake up in the morning? God gave you that gift so you can make a difference because somebody else needs you. Thank you.